Welcome back to Trinity of Fitness Bootcamp. I am your instructor, Coach Nye. So today is Daniel's 5. Today in God's Plan Leadership through the book of Daniel, we're going with Daniel's 5, the writing on the wall. Now, we're going to focus the leadership on accountability, integrity, consequences, and responsibility. If you want to refer to anything that I'm teaching about, you can go to Daniel's chapter 5. Now, today we're going to talk about leadership accountability. One of the most important qualities of a leader is responsibility and accountability. In Daniel's chapter 5, King Belshazzar was reckless. He was also disrespectful and irresponsible with the authority he was given. He did not learn from the mistakes of the previous king, and because of that, he lost everything in one night. Now, this chapter teaches us a very serious leadership lesson. Leadership is not just about power, position, or influence. Leadership is about responsibility, integrity, and accountability. Each decision you make has consequences. So I'm going to give you an overview before we jump into it, what chapter 5 is pretty much all about, from my notes. So for me, it's exploring core values and personal standards. King Belshazzar, he enters the chat with the same foolishness as Nebuchadnezzar, full of pride, and he gloats, overlooking the true and living God. That was his issue. Now he orders the people to bring him the cups and things that they stole from Jerusalem, right? And he drank wine from it. Do you understand? Something that was holy. He drank wine from it and from the cups and praised the lowercase g God of gold and silver. That's what he did. He had a good time partying with our living God's valuables. So verse 5, this is when God enters the chat. Verse 5, chapter 5, verse 5, God enters the chat. This is God's plan. So God, a human finger started writing on the wall. Start writing on the wall. And for me, that's warning before destruction. So the king was scared. I mean, he was so scared his knees was knocking. He all pale in the face. He's nervous. He's sweating. He going through it. And he called for he was screaming for all the magicians, all the enchanters, anybody that played in demonition. He didn't care. He called for all of them. If you know, he did not call for Daniel. He called for everything that his lowercase g, right, that would be acceptable to understand a lowercase g. He called for them. He did not call for Daniel because of the fact he was not praising capital G. He was not praising the living God. So he called for everybody that played in demonition. You guys come in here and I need you guys. He made so much noise that the queen came running in. Now, you got to think about it. The queen, she probably was down there doing whatever it was that she was doing, partying or whatever, what she was doing. But she came running and she's like, the king lives forever, right? Please stop looking so pale. Like, you're embarrassing me. What is wrong with you? What she may have thought that he was drunk. What's wrong with you? You're supposed to be the king. And everyone's going to look at you and know that you're scared. You're never supposed to be scared. I don't know if that's what she said, but I'm just paraphrasing. Come on now. So stop looking so pale. But this is what she had to remind him. What about Daniel? This is when Daniel enters the chat, right? What about Daniel? He was your daddy's chief, right? Now, I know in chapter 5 it says that Belshazzar was Nebuchadnezzar's son, right? But doing some research and different things, that kind of equates him to like the grandson, like ancestry, like that. But neither here nor there. I just like to always just put more information out so you can go study yourself. So in verse 13, Daniel enters the chat. When he enters the chat, now this time with Daniel, you got to look at Daniel probably have been resting ever since Nebuchadnezzar, because he may have thought, what if he thought like everybody learned their lesson? See, when God needs you and he get ready to use you, you'll go through years, and I don't know if this happened here, but I'm just telling you, you'll go through years of feeling like, okay, I'm not doing anything. Are you still there? Or we're not saying that's what happened to Daniel. I'm telling you, as a leader, a lot of people, we look for God when it's quiet. He doesn't have us working because that's what rest. Because such a time as this. He knew that this king was going to do the same thing that the last king did. So now Daniel shows up, right? The king said, help me out. If you interpret this, you will be the third ruler in the kingdom. Daniel said, keep your gifts and give it to somebody as a reward. That was verse 17. Now for me, I'm like, did Daniel have an attitude? Is Daniel sick of these folks? Right? So Daniel starts by telling him the backstory of Nebuchadnezzar, right? He's like, how he was a ruler and then his heart became arrogant and God had to humble him. Basically, the apple don't fall far from the tree. But you, his son, has not humbled yourself. Instead, you set yourself up against God. You and your nobles drank from what was holy and praised the lowercase g God of silver, gold, wood, bronze, iron, and stone. So God sent the hand to write. What was written is Mene, Tekel, Perez. Now, some people may say Mene, Tekel, Perez. But Mene, Tekel, Perez. And God has numbered your kingdom and finished it. Meaning, you have been weighed in the balance and found wanting. Your kingdom has been divided and given to the Medes and Persia. Yeah. You have been weighed in the balance and found wanting. Your kingdom has been divided and given to the Medes and the Persians. Belshazzar, look, stuck to his word. He's a man of his word. After, Daniel said what he said, he went ahead and he clothed him in purple and gave him a gold chain to put around his neck. Now, he stuck to his word, but he never changed his heart. He never changed his heart because God, he's going to stand on business. There's warning before destruction. I told you what was going to happen. Obviously, he didn't change his heart. And right, so the prophecy was fulfilled. Belshazzar was slain that same night, and Darius, the Medes, received the kingdom at 62 years old. Now, can you imagine that? 62 years old? You the kingdom now. You're in charge of the kingdom now, right? So all because he didn't change his heart and he played with what God told him. The writing was on the wall. The writing was on the wall. Warning before destructions. So, getting into the teaching, leadership comes with responsibility. The king used the sacred temple cups for a party. He disrespected what was sacred. He abused his authority. Because he was a man, he was the man, he's the king, he felt he can do whatever and whenever he felt. Just because you have access does not mean you have permission. Leaders must respect people, opportunities, positions, resources, time, and influence. As a leader, you have to respect people. You want to be respected, but you respect no one. Make that make sense. You're going to need these same people to do a job. But because you don't show them respect, that job is going to be half done or not done. You'll have to work overworked on micromanaging to make sure it get done. A good leader, you don't have to micromanage because they respect you, because you respect them. You don't have to worry about is the work going to get done because they'll be more disappointed. They'll feel more disappointed because they let you down. So they're going to do the work out of respect. Now, learn from other people's mistake. Daniel reminded him what happened to Nebuchadnezzar. Now, hello, didn't 7 times over. Nebuchadnezzar, listen, there was warning before destruction. God showed him the dream. He said, hey, this is in chapter 4. God showed him the dream about the tree. He said, okay, this is the tree is going to chop down everything, but keep the roots. Keep the roots, because after you unharden your heart, after you let go of arrogant and pride, after you recognize that I am the only God, then I will let you rule again. But until then, you're going to out there in the wilderness, eating just like the ox do, being just like the ox, living amongst the animals. That's what you're going to do. So he knew the story, but he ignored the lesson. That was the thing about Belshazzar. He knew the story, but he ignored the lesson. He did not learn from history. History repeats itself. It's how are you going to let it repeat itself? Like with generational curses. Just because in your family they've been doing it this long, and then you're born and you just keep doing it. History will continue to repeat itself until you decide that that's not right. I'm not going that way. I'm going this way. Right? So wise leaders learn from others' mistakes. Unwise leaders must learn from their own mistakes. So, do you learn from others or only after you make the mistake yourself? Now, just because you learn from once you make the mistake yourself, then you learn. That's not a bad thing, Because the thing is, you learned. It's a difference from constantly doing the same thing over and over and you don't learn the lesson. It doesn't make you less of a leader if you made the mistake on your own, but you learned the lesson. That's the most important part. So the writing on the wall is basically accountability, right? The handwriting appeared on the wall. It meant he had been weighed and found lacking. His kingdom ended that night. That night. The writing on the wall appeared. He was found lacking. His kingdom ended that night. Well, his ruling ended that night. Everyone is accountable for how they lead their life, their family, their job, and their influence. What you do in private eventually shows in public. What you do in private eventually shows in public. So if God is showing you a thing, take heed to it. Now, your decisions shape your future. One night of bad decisions ended his leadership. One night. Decisions matter. Discipline and character protect your future. One night. One night. He was feeling himself. Now, see, those valuables, those cups and everything had been stored up. No one ever touched it. But you know what? Why not? Go get those cups. Because what I feel he felt was, I'm bigger than any God. Go get them cups. I'm supposed to drink like a king. The king of all kings. That's how I looked at it. That's what he was saying. So no, one night of bad decisions ended his leadership. Small daily decisions create big life results. So what do you choose? What do you choose? So let's get into the RPI. A for acknowledge. Acknowledge an area in your life where you need more responsibility, discipline, or accountability. R for release. Release excuses, blaming others, procrastination, and avoidance. P for practice. Practice accountability this week. Be on time. Finish what you start. Tell the truth. Tell the truth. Track your habits. Apologize if you are wrong. And keep your word. Keep your word. I for inner explorer, which is a self-reflection. Ask yourself, if my life was weighed today, what areas would be strong and what areas would be lacking? E for empowerment. I want you to write this statement. I am responsible, disciplined, and accountable. Now, this is your journaling prompt. I know it seemed like a lot of homework, but here's my thing. If I could keep you so focused on yourself, you don't have time for nonsense. Do you have to do all of these homework assignments? No. But if you choose to, you can break it down daily that you just pour into yourself until we meet next Thursday. Now, your journaling prompt, I want you to write for 10 to 15 minutes. If my life was evaluated today in the areas of discipline, leadership, integrity, finances, health, and faith, where would I be strong and where would I be lacking? What do I need to change? That's what you can journal, 10 to 15 minutes. Your meditation prompt, I want you to sit quietly and reflect on this statement. My daily decisions are building my future. Okay? I want you to do some slow breathing. As you inhale, I want you to say, I am responsible. As you exhale, I want you to say, I am accountable. Inhale, I am responsible. Exhale, I am accountable. And then throughout the week, I just want you to repeat quietly. I am disciplined. I am responsible. I lead my life well. My decisions matter. I am building a strong future. Okay? Now, I want you to read chapter 5, Daniel's chapter 5, and I want you to write down 3 areas where you need more discipline, 3 areas where you need more accountability, and 2 habits you need to change. I want you to track your habits for 1 week. For the rest of this week, I want you to track your habits. I want you to journal twice about your future and leadership. And then I want you to make 1 decision this week that your future self will thank you for. Now let's get into our declaration. Repeat after me. I am responsible, disciplined, and accountable. I make wise decisions for my future. I walk in integrity and responsibility. I learn from my mistakes, and I grow every day. I lead my life with discipline, wisdom, and character. My future is being built by my decisions today. And I'm not going to leave your friends out. So, I create this thing called Tabletop Talk. If you don't have any friends, just put it in the comment, answer the questions in the comment, and maybe you can spark up other conversations with other people. So here's the thing. Learn how to, or you can journal these things. Or here's an idea. You and your friends, you take these class discussion questions, and what you can do is you can have a journaling class, or you and your friends can just talk about things. This gives you something. Put it in a group text. Put one of the questions in a group text and let everybody just sit and think. This is how you change others, right? You lead by example, others will follow. So I got 5 of them. Why is accountability important in leadership? What does integrity mean to you? Why should we learn from other people's mistakes? What habits are building your future right now? And if your life was evaluated today, what area would need the most improvement? Listen, that is the end of class today for chapter 5, right? So we have one more class, and that will be Daniel 6, the Lion's Den. We're going to talk about that, and I'm going to give you homework as well for that one. My YouTube is Chat with Coach Nye. So over there, I am teaching the power within, and I'm teaching also the women of the Bible, leadership through the women of the Bible. So you can catch that over there. My TikTok, I do daily, weekdays, 9:30 Central Time. I do the Lead Her Morning Show. So you guys can come over there and learn wherever you meet me at. That's where I'll be teaching. If you haven't got my book is Trinity Walk to Self-Love. It's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Walmart website. Listen, if no one told you today, I'm telling you now, I love you and I'm so proud of you. Remember to pour into yourself before you pour into others. Remember to share and follow. Coach Nye out. God's plans are better.